I didn't know I wanted to be an entrepreneur until I really started surrounding myself with other entrepreneurs.
To me, a very saturated market. I can now have my AI bot go write me a post every single day. I can have a comment on everyone else's posts. How do you build a successful business given the competition in the space?
We never just use AI to write a post. If they can do it, I can do it.
Welcome to the next episode of the Entrepreneurial Excellence Podcast. So most B2B companies believe they have a pipeline problem. Jared Gibson believes they have a familiarity problem. Let's talk about that. Buyers don't start conversations the way they used to. That is clearly for sure. They research, they observe, they form opinions long before they ever raise their hand and they might want to buy your product. Most executive insights stay trapped inside leadership teams in meetings. Jared and his team at Outworks help B2B leaders turn their thinking into consistent buyer-facing content, not for vanity metrics, but for trust that compounds over time. Before founding Outworks, Jared built deep experience across growth, sales, marketing, and leadership roles. DevBridge Group to empower HR, giving you a front row seat to how buyers' trust is really formed. He's also host of Life to Pitch and co-host of Business is Bull Star T, where he cuts through corporate polish and explores the messy reality of building companies. Today, we unpack why trust compounds before conversations happen, why most executive teams misunderstand content, AI's role in executive visibility, and how to build content as infrastructure, not noise. Jared, welcome to Entrepreneurial Excellence.
What is up, Adam? Thanks for having me on. And that was a nice way to bleep out the name of my second podcast.
I never know quite what the algorithms are going to do with bad words or cuss words in there. So I read it exactly as it's written and pretended I don't know what the star means in the I there. So I asked a question that I start with everybody on. You're an entrepreneur yourself. You've worked with tons and tons of entrepreneurs. How do you define entrepreneurial excellence? Like, what does that actually mean to you?
I'm a firm believer. So I'm on LinkedIn a lot, social media, you see it anywhere, but I think what are you happy with? Like there's entrepreneurs that live for the grind, right? They're up and at 'em and they like work, 60, 70 hours a week and that's what they love. Me, I'm not there. I have a family. I have, 2 young kids. I want to be part of their life. And like for me, like the entrepreneurial journey is, yes, being able to control your calendar, being able to build something that you love to build, but also giving yourself the time to do the things that matter in life to you. And that's where, when I started this company, I was most excited for. I didn't want to be making money for somebody else. I didn't want to be, mercy to somebody else's calendar. Like I control just about everything now. And that's kind of what I like. Not that I'm a control freak, but I just feel like I'm at that point in my career where it's something that friends that were founders and entrepreneurs that I kind of envied when they were doing it and I wasn't, and it just rubbed off on me. So I think it's different for everybody. For me though, it's just that freedom, and the wins are a lot better. I'll say that too.
For sure. Of course, lows are lower because they are all on your shoulders. So then to define that maybe specifically, you're saying like an excellent entrepreneur is someone who is able to achieve a level of freedom and control in their lives.
I believe so. Yes. Yeah. I think that's important.
What are the elements that you need to do to get there? So it's one thing to say that that's great. That's what a great entrepreneur can do and what a wonderful, an excellent one is. It's a lot different to actually achieve that outcome. Like that is not necessarily that hard. Right? Anyone can go and register a company tomorrow and be like, I'm an entrepreneur, and they put a title on their LinkedIn that says I'm CEO of my company, and there's no real business there. So there's a little bit more to it. How do you actually get to that point where you can be an entrepreneur who truly has freedom?
For me, it's experience, like knowing what I like and knowing what I dislike, what I want, what I don't want. I'm a big believer in the fact that there's a lot of stuff that I didn't know getting into it, know about being an entrepreneur, like things that, caught me completely off guard. I have the benefit of having a co-founder that has exited a few companies, that he's a serial entrepreneur. So anytime I've gotten to the point where it was like freak out mode, like he's somebody that I could go talk to and just be like, all right, take a step back. This is all part of kind of this journey that you're on. I also think having a background in sales prepped me for a lot of the roller coaster that we're on right now, because anybody that's in sales can tell you like, hey, you could be having the worst week ever. And then one deal closes or one good thing happens on Friday, and it completely flips the mindset and the attitude around everything. So I do believe that the mindset that entrepreneurial mindset is very important. And a lot of the stuff that I just mentioned, like kind of feed into that for me.
How do you build, or how did you build that level of like mindset to be able to handle the ups and downs of being an entrepreneur? And like, how can people emulate that in your mind?
It took me this long to start my own company. I was working for somebody else for 20 years before I started my own company. For me, it was going through the reps, getting like that, like mental toughness sounds like a tough, like a bad answer, but it is. It's that mental fortitude of like, hey, like it's not going to go the way that you want it to go. It won't. Like the day that you planned on having today when you wake up is not the day that's going to happen. So how are you going to deal with the chaos that's probably going to ensue, or the road that you weren't planning on going down today? I think for me, experience, like the scrapes and falling off the horse and getting up and down, like in the corporate world, like everything that I've done in the past, prep me for this. If you're younger, like getting into it, I don't know. I don't, it's more power to you that you're able to do that. But like I said, for me, it was just having to go through the experience of working in the corporate world.
Walk us through a little bit of that working in the corporate world. Like, what were some of the biggest lessons, highs, lows, things that you took away from some of those lessons, and then what really once again pushed you to take the risk, frankly, of being an entrepreneur? Like, if you're a good corporate worker, like you probably can make a career at that and provide for your family and do all the things you need to do for the rest of your life and not have the stress of being an entrepreneur. So like, what, what were the lessons you learned throughout that period in various positions that led you then also to saying, screw it, I'm going to go and try this on my own?
Yeah, to be honest with you, I don't think that ever had thought about being an entrepreneur because I was fine. I was making money, like, and I still like, listen, to this day, do I wake up every once in a while and say, dude, what are you doing? Go get a job. Like make the money that you can make. Cause listen, you're not like jumping into this. Like I'm not making ideally the money that I want, but there is a goal in mind that we have, me and my two other co-founders have. But I didn't know I wanted to be an entrepreneur. Like, it's like one of those, I didn't know when I grew up, I wanted to be an entrepreneur until I really started surrounding myself with other entrepreneurs. I'm part of the company I was with previous. We sponsored a group called EO. If anybody's familiar with EO, it's entrepreneurs organization. And for 3 years, we were a sponsor of that group. And I built a lot of really good friendships within that group. And I saw the freedom, yes, the stress, but like everything about that group and those people, like I'm friends with these people. Like if they can do it, I can do it. So it started to kind of rub off on me and think like, there's no reason I can't do this. And then we got acquired. The company I was with got acquired, dumpster fire acquisition. And that was the door that opened that I needed to kind of be like, all right, now it's time.
What do you think was there an ego involved when you were sort of like, I think I can do this too? Like, what did you see in these other entrepreneurs that you said, I want to emulate that? Because, yeah, I mean, you hear about the good stuff, but you also, even with the company you're at, you saw like a dumpster fire acquisition. It probably no one made a lot of money if it was a dumpster fire acquisition. Like a lot of people put a lot of work and effort into that last company, and yet a bad acquisition. Why were you like, yeah, this is what I want to go do next?
Yeah, I mean, so two answers there. One, what did I see in those other like entrepreneurs that I was around, the successful entrepreneurs? Nothing different than me. But that's it. It's like they were just like we got along, like we could talk shop, like I could carry my own in a conversation with them about what they were building. So it was more or less a light bulb that just went off to me and just saying like, hey, if the time is when that time comes, I'm gonna take it. The other side is I've worked for companies that I absolutely loved. Like this company that was acquired, I was the head of marketing there. I loved my leadership team. I loved the company. We were purpose driven, like doors were open, everybody knew each other. We had about 120 employees, just a really good company. So you work for this organization, you like just love the people that you work with. It's one of those companies where like you woke up, you were pumped. I was excited to go in and like hang out with these people and work with them. We were acquired, there's private equity involved. We were acquired, and the company that acquired us, we were like the 40th acquisition. And I saw the opposite side of that, where the leadership team there was transactional, EBITDA focus, like didn't care. Like they referred to us in the onboarding, first integration meeting where our team was very scared as number 40. They didn't even call us our company name. And it was just like, I don't ever want to have to go through this again. So it was like the perfect storm of knowing what I want if when I lead a company, like what I want that culture to be like and knowing what I don't want, and also just being timely and just doing it.
Why do you think this was an Empower HR that got acquired?
Yeah, yeah.
Why do you think the founders of Empower decided to sell? Like what made them decide to sell given this great culture they had, everything else? Put yourself in their shoes and then think about your own journey too. Like what would get you to a point with your business where you're like, well, maybe we should still sell. Like if they got acquired by PE, the founders probably made some good money.
Yes. And it's a very good question. And they were in a very unique situation. So I'll give you the short version of the story is the group that was our private equity group also ran a ton of senior living facilities, like ton.
Hmm.
And that was their bread and butter was this. And I love that private equity group and I still to this day love them. I don't fault them for selling because they needed that capital to put into kind of their baby, their bread and butter, which was the senior living group. So
Okay. So they were a PE group that already owned Empower HR. And then they essentially needed to flip it is probably too meat of a word, but they needed to sell it to get other cash for other investments.
100%. And again, there's no fault. I don't hold grudges or anything by that. Like I still talk to some people at that group. It's fine. It's just, I guess my only wish is that they would have found a better partner. But again, sometimes there's offers and there's deals, like there's things you just can't turn down. And I totally get that with them. And if that ever happens with us, we're a very small company. We've got like me, my two co-founders, and then a team of 9 contract workers. So we purposely want to keep it small. But if that time were to, like, fingers crossed, ever come for us, we've got the battle scars of knowing what we should look for versus what we shouldn't look for at this point, because my two co-founders are also part of that acquisition.
So they were there. They saw that. And okay, so you saw that, went through that acquisition. I'm just sort of curious, like how long did it take for a lot of the team from Empower to disperse from the acquiring company?
Yeah, so that's actually so our leadership team, once we realized that, like, because when it first happened, we were like, great, we've got more air support that's going to come in that can help our clients out, things that maybe we didn't have. Once we realized it was going to go downhill quickly because they were bringing us in essence back a few years from what we had gotten to, we huddled as a leadership team and like, listen, I think it's come to the point where we need to start talking to our team and giving them permission and telling them like, hey, it's okay if you want to if you want to look elsewhere. Don't feel like you're obligated to stay here because of what we've built. So
Were there golden
for
handcuffs of
us,
any sort, or in sort of said like you got to stick around for a certain period of time?
for a few people, some people jumped before that happened. But once we were brought in and integrated in with this other company, like I was moved completely off of Empower HR and put on like 5 other companies running digital strategy for them, or not digital. I don't even know what it was. I was a wrong person, wrong seat. So it was like I waited around. I built relationships with other people within the company, but
Why do you think the PE buyers did that? Like, in other words, I don't really understand when companies make that acquisition and don't either understand the team they have, or like why would they move you to all these wrong roles where it sounds like they're putting you in roles that were important for these different companies. Do they just not understand your value or the other people on your team's value? Or it's just like it's so big they don't care? Like,
I think it's so big that they didn't care. They were so EBITDA focused. Like for them, it was, if we lose people, that's fine. It's going to help us out. We can just transition those roles into corporate. So I do think it's too big, but I also don't think that they really cared to truly understand like the value that we, like myself, whoever brought to the table. And that was an ego hit, man. I felt like I was knocked backwards a little bit, but I've said this story before. The president of Empower HR, love the guy to death, still do. We're still friends. He said something to me when all this was going on. He's like, don't rob yourself of the opportunity to weather this storm, meaning learn from it and come out on the other side stronger. And that's exactly what ended up happening.
and so then why? So you're like, okay, you're getting frustrated with the company. What made you decide to start Outworks? Like, why Outworks? Why was that the focus? Why do it with the people? I mean, you obviously had people you would work with closely and you knew them well. But like,
Yeah.
why do all that versus once again, like going into another marketing role, helping people grow? Clearly, that's your expertise. What made you say,
Yeah.
I'm really going to take the jump this time and start and have maybe one? I don't know, not a lot of revenue probably coming in on day one.
No, not at all. So for me, it was, I knew I wanted to do something on my own. I had no clue what I wanted to do yet. I was thinking about doing like consulting, starting doing consulting around like a sales marketing. My background's mostly in sales, building sales teams. But then obviously I have the marketing background as well. So I kind of viewed that as a valuable commodity. The fact that I can kind of approach both sides with different hats on. And then I reached out to Brandon, who is now my co-founder, who I was his VP of sales for at one of his companies. And I told him like, hey, I'm thinking about doing this. And he's like, hey, actually, Kelly's my other co-founder, whose background is in design. He's like, we're both thinking about doing something too. We should just get back together and do this. And Brandon's always said his most successful companies are the ones that have it's funny, a hipster, a hacker, and a hustler on the founding team. Like, right?
Okay.
So he's the hacker because he's an engineer, developer. Kelly's the hipster designer, and I'm the hustler. Yeah, the
Yeah.
hustler because I'm in sales. But so we got together. We didn't know what we wanted to do at first. We just knew that we were going to do something, and I trust those guys. They're a lot smarter than I am when it comes to a lot of the stuff that we wanted to build. We originally started with just like, let's just do lead gen. Let's put that out there. Let's bring in some initial clients, like break some stuff. We'll figure it out. Hated doing that because it was just such a cesspool in the lead gen place. And then we were kind of like, there's something with LinkedIn. So let's start building people's networks and seeing what we can do there. And we started to realize because we kept hearing more of like our founders and CEOs we were working with, like we told them like, you need to create content. We're growing your network. We're getting you conversations, but you're literally inviting people into this house with no furniture. There's zero content. And they're like, I don't have time to do this. Can you just do it for us? We kept hearing that more and more when it got to the point of like, maybe we should just say yes to one of these and see if it turns into something. And it did. And we've just kind of built an intentional machine around that since.
And so explain Outworks to people. What is exactly it doing? What's the value prop? Why should someone buy it?
Yeah, so we work with executives, CEOs, executives that understand the importance of getting their executive voice out in the world today. They are part of the buyer journey. Like we always say like this, we're on like phase 2 of what content is. Phase 1 was like pre-pandemic. It was company logos, company branded marketing materials, company LinkedIn pages. Pandemic happens and you start to see into the lives of these executives at home in their element, and it really humanized them and people gravitated toward that. So you started to see more people step out from behind that company brand and really put themselves out there. And they became part of the buyer journey. So no longer are people just going to a website. They're going to these executives' LinkedIn pages, social pages, whatever, and doing their evaluation of whether or not they want to work with these companies through that. So for us, it's like, hey, you're a busy CEO. You don't have the time to do this. You don't want your marketing team to focus on this because they're already pulled a million different directions. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to make this easy for you. We'll create the strategy and then we'll conduct a 60-minute interview each month. We'll create a month's worth of content. And then we just repeat that every month. And that really took off for us because you started to see like, hey, we started asking people, why are we doing this? Why do you want to do this? And it's like, I need my sales team to have trust before that first conversation. Like, so it's a lot of building trust prior to that first call. It's making sure that I'm consistently top of mind with my network. It's, this is great for recruiting. The more I put my voice out, my team's voice out, the better talent that we can get. So there's a million different reasons to it. But for us, it's just like, they understand the importance of it. Some people don't. And some people look for immediate returns on it, meaning like, if this doesn't work in a month, let's test this out. It's going to take, I always tell people like mindset wise, you got to be prepped to do this for a year. This stuff compounds over time and you're building trust. You're earning the right to these conversations. So that's what we do. And it's, like I said, it's taken off and it's been fun. There's been a lot of ups and downs, a lot of experimenting and new websites. Like you get sick of a website after a few months and it's like, oh, we don't even do that anymore. Let's change it and all this stuff. But
How do you then, like, given sort of LinkedIn content, right? That's to me a very saturated market in many ways, right? So how do you make sure you can stand out in a world where I can now have my AI bot go write me a post every single day? I can have a comment on everyone else's posts, or I can even hire people overseas that cost, relatively speaking, very little to go do this work too, and they probably use AI on top of it. How do you stand out? How do you build a successful business given the competition in the space?
yeah, I mean, so for us, we don't do any of the commenting, any of the engagement. I'm a big believer and I do believe that you can sniff out comments on social media that are clearly AI generated. I always encourage our clients to use their personality, showcase your personality a little bit in the comments. So we don't do any of the comments. We tried it at one point and it just didn't work. From a content perspective, like we show a different variety of types of content. Anybody can go into ChatGPT and have it write a post for them. But for us, that's really kind of, I don't want to say poisoned LinkedIn, but it's just turned a lot of the content you see on LinkedIn into spam. So for us, we have to make sure that we're getting the voice down of our client. We mixed in video, like video is a big component to what we do.
Mm.
Like putting even though it may not work as well, like from a reach perspective today on LinkedIn, like posting video, like it's a lot. You're building a content library on your LinkedIn page.
Those are like like an Instagram video and filming myself talking about a topic or something, like that sort of
Yeah,
video. Or
yeah, very similar. A lot of our clients will bring on team members, like do a podcast style interview. So yeah, it's talking head videos, it's podcast style interviews, but we use video editors that use Adobe. So there's a lot of that mixed in. And again, I know there's tools out there today you can build video with, but the biggest thing for us is like it is all inconsistent. Like, right, these CEOs of 10, 20, $30 million companies or their marketing teams are not like, if any other priority comes up, it shifts attention away from this, something that they know is important. They're not doing it. So for us, it's about building intentional systems around it so they don't have to think. They don't want to be content creators, but they know they have to put out content.
when you think through the scope of like all the marketing a company should be doing, and like maybe be specific, is this like sort of seed, Series A, or companies that have a $1 to $10 million in revenue? What are the right targets for like people listening? What they should be thinking about, and then how does this fit into the wider scope of all the different outlets or marketing channels they should be considering?
Yeah, so I think anybody should be creating content. Like I'm obviously like I run a company, but like in today's world, the average B2B buyer is 36 years old. I read, and that buyer at 36 is going like that younger generation is going to continue to come up and be that buyer. That's the social media generation, and they live on intake of content. And if you're not out there, you're not putting yourself out there and building this content machine, then your competitors probably are, right? Or you're invisible and they're not going to be able to find you. Like the digital footprint is so important today. And there's so many executives that have zero, like you can Google them and all that comes up is their LinkedIn profile and it's empty, right?
Yeah, yeah.
It's very important to have this out there. So I would say anybody should be doing it. B2B, B2C, whatever. From a leadership standpoint, I think that it's the CEO's responsibility to do it for
Yeah,
their.
actually, I would go even further, by the way. I would say that it's every single person in their career should be doing this. If you want to have a career that shows that you are more than just a sort of standard employee, because everyone looks the same when you're looking for hiring, you should have a voice, have an opinion, have something to say. Even if literally you go talk in an interview and you're like, and someone says, "Oh, I see you post every single day." And if you're just like, "Yeah, use AI for all that," like I would still be impressed. I might be like, "Oh,
Yeah.
cool." Like you're at least being thoughtful about getting your name out there and using AI in a smart way, even if the content's low quality. At least you're doing something versus someone who's just like, it's a standard LinkedIn profile. I mean,
Yeah.
to me, that like your profile is your resume and it's what people look at. I mean, I update my profile. I bet I update mine at least once a month. There's some changes and tweaks I'm making to mine, and I have a very active profile. So,
Yeah.
so you saying anybody?
Yep.
Is there a more specific focus that you all work on with Outworks? Is it like what are the real target markets?
Yeah. So for us, it's B2B just because the core of what we do is on LinkedIn, but we also take a lot of the content that we create and, reformat it for other platforms as well. So we have plenty of clients that we're reformatting posts and videos. But for us, it's north of 10 million in revenue B2B. Like that is our sweet spot. Our best clients are around 20 million in revenue that have marketing or growth teams internally that we can work in parallel with, that we can talk about strategy. Like, hey, coming up next month, so and so speaking at this event, or we've got a product release coming up, or we've got this, whatever that is, so that we can make sure that we are locked in step with them on the strategy. And again, the interview questions that we're asking on the interview with the CEO, the executive teams. Like a lot of times we work with executive teams, the CEO may say, "Hey, I want my team to be a culture. I want this to be a culture of content creators. I want us to show up everywhere. Anywhere our buyers are, I want somebody on my team to be there." So we work with executive teams. And I think that that's a massive opportunity right now that you don't see a lot of companies do. The ones that do it, it because you see them all over the place.
Why is it better to have like, I think it's always good to say we have a team mindset, all that other stuff, but like, why is it better from a marketing standpoint to have the team versus that sort of single CEO. Like, I'll use an example we all know about, like Elon Musk. No one knows who else works at Tesla or SpaceX or anything else. It's all Elon all the time. And yes, it's a cult of personality, all these other things, but it's also been really focused. And so now he's like the most followed person in the world. Why is it better to have your whole team out there versus saying, hey, I'm just going to focus on building up one profile and making that really strong and being like the leader, the well-known leader in that space, being like the CEO or founder or something?
Yeah, I don't think it has to be only the CEO. Like, yes, for sure. I think that it starts from the top. Like the CEO should be doing it, should be leading the charge, creating the content. But everybody on that team has their own individual story, right?
Sure.
You're not if you have an executive team of four plus the CEO, so five people, we would never treat it as all the content's going to be the same across the board. Sure, everybody needs to be rowing in the same direction, but everybody's got their own story. So we treat it as like a separate seat. Hey, we're going to run an onboarding call, strategy session for you, and then we're going to run one for you. And we're not going to pull from one to the other because your story is different. You're a subject matter expert in this at the company. You're a subject matter expert in this. So you think about different audiences. The CEO is talking high level to to everybody. But you may have an SME that is on the operations side of the house that's got a very crazy background and story that's speaking to a specific audience. Like his followers are a certain type of audience. So let's build trust with that group, So the goal is, again, to get multiple people telling their story, become cliche to say, but thought leaders in their designated space, but making sure that everybody's headed in the same direction. We all have the same North Star. We all have the goal here of whatever that goal is. And that's kind of where we're at right now. Like, and even company pages today, I think most companies just build, crappy content on their LinkedIn company page that nobody cares about. It's like, well, how about you get some people to step out from behind that company logo and start putting themselves out there? And that's like when we hear our clients tell us like, hey, I was at a conference last week and somebody said like, I see you guys everywhere right now. That's where we know that we're doing a job that we're supposed to be doing.
How is AI changing the nature of content in this scenario? Like, how is AI changing it? How is it changing not only the content that's being created, but how you make the decisions of what to put out there, right? LinkedIn's constantly changing their algorithm. And how are you staying up to, like, what are you doing with AI? How is that working? How is it changing things? How should your clients be thinking about using it themselves? Or how does it just change what you guys do?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, a huge component of what we do is AI. Like our entire backend system is built on AI. It's the benefit of having a engineer as one of your co-founders is that he's just building. So for us, we never just use AI to write a post, right? We use it to ideate, come up with ideas per se, but writing it, like everybody's got their own unique individual tone and their likes and their dislikes. We use AI for a few different few different ways. One, we build AI agents. So we come up with questions prior to each interview that we do, right?
And you're doing like an interview with the executive once a week or every other week or
Yeah,
something?
once a month, 60-minute interview once a month. So we have the strategy built that we're working with their team on, right? That's part of the questions that we're going to ask, but we also are sending over these questions ahead of time. And we have AI agents that are going and looking for relevant topics that are happening today in that client's space. So AI agents pulling from Reddit threads, YouTube videos, from industry publications. Our clients are letting our fireflies, in some cases, or just sending it over afterward, jump into their sales calls, their team calls. So all these things that are going on real time, like objections they're hearing in the field, like topics that matter right now to their prospects, all this stuff we're incorporating into these questions that we're asking. And then we build these vector stores for each client. It's everything about them. It's what they posted before, their tone, their likes, their dislikes. Anything that you can think about for this person is in this vector store. So the AI runs through that as well prior to those questions. And it's asking these questions. And then the content that we create, again, once the interview is over with, we'll kick it over to our team. And the team is going to start to put together the actual post. Initial draft of those posts comes from that vector store, the agent, the AI that we've written for that particular person. So each person has their own avatar writing tool. So it'll write the post. Then we'll send it over to our designers. It'll send it over to our video editors. And then we have 2 editors that will make sure they are adding the finishing touches on before it sees the light of the day for anybody. So it'll come to myself or my co-founder for final like final eyeballs on before it gets to the client. But there's human editing that needs to they just going from AI to post is that's what's polluting LinkedIn right now.
So
You've got to have some type of human element. Like I always say, we can get you. We're going to get it to about the 80-yard line, or the 80. We're going to get about the 20-yard line. Like the humans need to take it into the end zone from there. Like there's got to be a human element to it.
in just to make sure we're clear, why does there have to be a human element to it? What is that human element adding?
I just think it's the blocker of what garbage is right now. Like if you look at again, you can scroll LinkedIn right now. At least I can. Maybe I'm in it all the time, so I can tell. And I can look at every post and see what is AI slop versus what is actually good content that somebody may have used AI to help generate, may have used AI to help ideate, but it's still their original talk track and their tone. So you need somebody to make sure that there's a stopgap there from my perspective.
And what are the metrics then that you track? Like what is success? Like I hear it's success. The big part is like you go to a conference and everyone's like, oh, I know about you guys. I've heard you. Like that's sort of success.
Yeah.
But as you said, a lot of people want to see how to track it in real time in the moment. So in other words, what are you looking at? Is it likes, followers, impressions? What are the metrics that actually matter? What's a feedback loop so you keep building better content for your customers?
This is one that I think is content. Like, what is the ROI on content is the question that, anybody in marketing is going to get.
Right.
For us, the things that we don't look at, I'll start with first, vanity metrics. Like we don't care about likes or comments. Like that's a dopamine hit. Like it's nice to have them, fine, but that's not going to move the needle. Your buyers are not liking and commenting on your posts that come out.
Okay.
They're the ones that are kind of sitting in the back and they're just seeing it. They're taking it in and then they're moving on to the next one. And then your next post comes out, they're taking it. They're not liking it. They're not commenting on it. So I always tell people right off the bat, like put your ego to the side here, like understand that the likes and comments aren't the most important thing. We've had clients, we put out posts that have gotten 300 impressions and they've generated a conversation. I have to circle back to find out this one closed, but this is a recent story. And they were bummed that they only got 300 impressions on a post, but it generated somebody reaching out to them in a DM, and they had a conversation from it. So I'm always hesitant to tell people like these are the things that you should be looking at. What we do look at is we want to make sure not just impressions, but impressions with the right people.
Mhm.
So LinkedIn's analytics suck, but they do give you the opportunity to see who is the persona of the person that's viewing that's one of those impressions. So let's say you're tracking CFOs or fiscal executives of this size company. Okay, well, look, most of the impressions here, even though you only got 500 impressions on this post, there's a big chunk of people that are in your ICP that are seeing this. So we want to make sure that we're creating content that speaks to those people. So impressions with the right audience, saves right now, LinkedIn's 360 Brew, the new backend AI that they put out, saves is something that they've said like, hey, the more saves you can get on a post, the better. So great. So what we're going to do is make sure that we're creating more of this content that is savable. So your ideal buyer sees this and this is something that they can take back to their meeting and talk to their team about. So they save it because it's some infographic or whatever that is, savable content. So we want to create content that's savable. It is profile views. Like we do a profile audit on every client at the beginning of each relationship. Like, and your profile has to match up with the content. So we want to get people back to the profile. And if they can do that, that's huge because that profile is set to explain what you do and how you can help them. So profile views, it's sends. So are they hitting that send button on your post and are they sending that to other people? So we want to track sends as well. So there's all these little things that are all leading indicators. Lagging indicators in most cases could be initial meetings with a new prospect that says that they saw you. So also you got to ask, like, did you know about me? How did you hear about me? Or have you seen any of my content? Like ask this stuff is important. Somebody reach back. This happens all the time. Hey, I know we weren't ready to buy 8 months ago, and I'm paraphrasing. I know we weren't ready to buy 8 months ago, but I've been seeing your content. You had this post. Let's connect. I'm ready to talk. I think we're in a better space today. So it's a lot of those types of things that we're consistently asking our clients for. Like, hey, make sure you're giving us this feedback because this is how it's going to dictate the direction. Because we want to continue to optimize this content and making sure that it's resonating with your buyers.
Yeah, you need to be optimized and also stay top of mind. And that's where I totally agree. It's sort of a long-term play. How does a buyer, if someone's like, I want to do more LinkedIn content, how do they decide you versus other vendors that are like you guys versus AI versus some random contractor they find on Upwork. How do they make a decision there? Like what are the decision criteria someone should think through?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. And it's funny because that's one that as somebody that's in sales, I get all the time,
Sure.
and I still struggle with answering that. I don't know why I do that, but for me, what I would say is we're not the cheapest, we're not the most expensive that's out there, but our methodology and the operating system that we built, it's the Outworks operating system. What we built just makes it easy for you. Like going through scheduling that interview, having that monthly interviews the same time every single month. So we want you to get into a habit of jumping on that call, have that interview each month. It's from that interview, a week later, you're going to have content. You go into Notion as our project management system, you approve that content, and we post that content for you. And then we send our analytics and reports at the end of each month to make sure that what we're putting out there is resonating. And it's just that system. So the Outworks operating system, and again, I dummied it down a little bit. There's a lot more that goes into it, but that is, I believe, our separator, our differentiator. And it's not for us. It's not about like, yes, you could absolutely go to Upwork and hire somebody. You could go and you could work with another agency. That's fine. Like, jump on a call with us if you like our system and you like the team dynamic of what we're doing.
For a B2B company today, if they're thinking through their entire marketing stack, what would be your recommended advice? If you're like, okay, do X, do Y, do Z, what are all the things in the list where you're like, this is what you should be doing and thinking about, and prioritize those items?
It's a good question because what I do always say to people is like, this what we do should be a tactic as part of your overall strategy. If this is your whole strategy, then you're not going to like the outcome of this. Like, it's because it takes too much time. So for us, it's like, listen, if you have the budget for all of this, do the usual marketing things. Run ads, like make sure you're testing the ads with the audience, what's working there. There's plenty. They may have a team internally that does that. They may use an agency for that. In real life conversations, like get out from behind your desk or you're behind your computer and get out there. That should be part of your marketing strategy, like sponsoring events or going to events, whatever that is. So I would say that there's all these other things that you should be doing, a lot of traditional stuff that's worked in the past. This is just something that is supposed to be tacked on to that is going to make sure that you're consistently top of mind. Things like drip campaigns. I always say, like, listen, you can set up your email drip campaigns. Nobody's going to read that, right? Nobody's opening up your email drip when somebody says no, but they're still jumping on LinkedIn and they're still jumping on social and they're still seeing you there. And that is where kind of this invisible marketing, like you're creating content literally for that person
Yeah.
and they have no clue with emails. Like again, I think it's somewhat of an antiquated play, but I don't know. That's a long answer, but I do think that there's something there where it's got to be a one part of an overall strategy.
Where does advertising play a role, if at all?
In terms of like from a LinkedIn perspective.
Or social media or even Google ads, like where once again is part of the ecosystem of, like, let's say here's your marketing stack. It is, I can do cold outbound, I can do ask for referrals for my customers, I can do LinkedIn content, I can do Instagram content, or Meta, if Facebook, Instagram content. I can do advertising across all of those channels. I can hire a bunch more salespeople and do cold calling. Like, where do all those pieces fit? In which is, I agree, you should be doing all of those to some extent. Yeah. Not everyone has the time, energy, or money to do all of those. So what is the list of priorities? Like, you should do this first.
So I think if you're throwing dollars at it right now, so if you're doing ads, it's going to be a quicker ROI. So the way that everything that you just gave as an example could be a quick ROI, meaning you're literally spending money to have these immediate conversations with people. I look at kind of the larger market formula. If you're familiar with that, like the buyer's pyramid, it's what 3% of people are in market today, pain aware, solution seeking. All that money that you're spending there, the ads, a lot of that is going to focus on that 3% of people that are ready to talk today. You spend money, you're going to get people that's hands are in the air that are pain aware today, solution seeking. For us, what we say is that let's focus on the other group of people that may not get as much attention. So that I think it's like 37% that are either pain aware, not solution seeking, or aren't pain aware, but will be pain aware. And then that other percent is likely will never be your buyer because they just aren't in market. They won't ever be in market. So let's build content that stays in front of that 37% of people that will eventually fall through, and make sure that when they do fall through, you are at the top of the list of people that they're reaching out to. And then from there, you can set up market, you can start spending money for, look for triggers that would say, okay, this person fell through. Let's make sure that we spend dollars to target them a little bit more. So it's more or less smart targeting with the dollars versus just spraying and praying when you're going after a lot of that 3%.
So then as you're saying, like, is the focus, is your take focus first on LinkedIn content or just creating good content and then layer on advertising and cold outbound in the other pieces? Like, is that where you would start? Given you're in LinkedIn content marketing, maybe it makes sense, but like, is that where you would start?
I mean, if you have the budget, I would start everything right now because you're going to want to test it. Like everything needs to be tested and you need to figure out what's going to work versus what's not going to work. For me, I like, just because I run this agency and I've seen the success that our clients are seeing from it, like I would start yesterday with creating this content. I would do that. But if you have budget to run ads, why wouldn't you start like ASAP? There's just a channel where once you realize that people are, let's say they're engaging with your content, or which they may or may not do. Let's say that they're viewing your profile, whatever that is. Once you start to see these triggers of like, okay, this person is a little bit warmer than they were before, then maybe there's a strategy where we start putting dollars to them. And maybe that's boosting posts toward them, retargeting ads on LinkedIn. Maybe that's thought leader ads that we're throwing in their direction, just so we're skipping the algorithm. They may not be connected to us, and we're going to pay to make sure that our content is in front of them until they click on a button and have a conversation with us.
Yeah. No, it makes sense. Do a little bit of a lightning round and then go to some interesting closing questions for you. What's one of the most underrated skills every B2B executive needs?
Yeah, this is kind of a boring answer. You probably heard it before. I think just writing.
Mm.
Writing. Like writing is such I know that we have like chat, like AI today and all that, but I don't know if I would be where I am today because I can think of specific instances throughout my career where writing was a game changer for me and it got me from here to here. So I would say writing is super valuable.
What about writing makes it so valuable?
I think about back to the emails that I've written in the past. I think to like the journaling. I think it's both because journaling for me, like if I just have like an hour and I'm just writing stuff down, content ideas, like writing's helped out just coming up with content ideas. Like I'll just sit and I'll write ideas that I have. And I've got an entire like notes app filled with it that I've just transitioned over to the app. So I think that across the board, writing has helped me just clarify. Like it's helped me putting stuff on paper and writing it out helps me kind of better understand, figure out like what makes sense versus what doesn't make sense. But also it's just helped me from, I took a writing class. There's a whole story. I won't get into it, but I took a writing class in college that I thought was just going to be stupid. But then I realized that the information that I was putting out, like it helped me retain a lot better than if I didn't. So I don't know if that's the best answer, but for me, I would just say it's writing.
Writing's a great one. What's some of the most overrated marketing advice you hear?
More is better. I think that's a good one. More is better. I think that's sales. I mean, sales and marketing. I guess most of my background's in sales. So, but you hear it in marketing all the time. I've heard it multiple times. Just get more, it'll eventually work.
If content disappeared tomorrow, how would you build trust?
I would be out and about every day. I would be meeting with as many people as possible. I would be attending as many events as possible. And I still try to do that. I still think that's something that's extremely underrated. And that could be the answer instead of writing too.
Yeah. No, look, I agree. I live in San Francisco and there's so many events here all the time. And yet maybe I'm older or whatever, have a bigger network, but I just have trouble going to a lot of events nowadays, but I probably should do more of that. One trait that separates enduring companies from temporary ones.
I talked about mindset at the beginning of this. I think having the right mind, not being blindsided, like having the mindset going into it and not thinking that you're on top of the world and you're invincible. Like you're not. Like if you go into it, understand that you're going to take some blows here and you've got to be mentally prepared to take those. Because if you're not, then it's not going to work. And also not being stubborn. Like what you started as may be completely different and likely will be completely different in a year from now, in 2 years and 3 years from now. So if you're so stubborn that you think that this is the one that's going to work and you're not open to shifting, then you're probably setting yourself up for failure.
Totally agree. If there's a single piece of advice that you could give to every entrepreneur to be excellent, what would that be?
I'm going to steal this line from a good friend of mine. And he's had this on his LinkedIn profile. His name is Larry Seiler, and he's best man at my wedding. And every time I see it, I'm just like, that is such a good line. It's so true. It's treat everyone as your mentor. Anybody that you meet, like don't base judgment on them before you can have that conversation. Lead with curiosity, because you never know what that person can provide to you. And I just don't think that there's enough of that today, where I think people make too many assumptions before they even really get to know. And if they did, there's a lot of lessons that are there. If you kind of just have that mindset of leading with curiosity and treating everyone as your mentor.
Yep, I totally agree. I get really mad at, I have some close friends, let's say, who have strong opinions about stuff, usually political, and they don't ask a lot of questions. They just sort of go with whatever they see in 180 characters on Twitter.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's very frustrating to me. It's like, ask a few questions, you might learn a lot more. And don't just jump to some base level conclusion because you were on social media for too long. So let's get the world.
I mean,
I'm more curious about everybody.
There is it's not to go down this rabbit hole, but there are days that I'm just and I wish I could do it, but for some reason I just can't delete my X account. Like, just delete it. Like, because there's so many dumb rabbit holes that you go down on that, where I feel your pain there. And I fall into that trap sometimes too.
Yeah, no, look, I have to do it, I feel like, for work purposes. But beyond that, I try not to overly engage on that area. There's so many other more fulfilling things to look at and frankly, more important things to deal with. So I try to keep it to focus to business stuff, and then it's a little bit less toxic. Jared, thank you so much for your time, your focus, what you're building. Where can people find you? How do they get in touch and learn more?
I mean, LinkedIn obviously is an easy way to find me. Just send me a DM. My email address is jared@outworks.io. You can go to Outworks too. If you schedule a meeting in Outworks, you're getting me anyway. So I would say those are probably two.
The secret has to getting you.
Yes, for sure.
Amazing. Thank you so much for the time. I appreciate it. I know our audience will learn a lot, and thank you.
Yeah, I am. This is great. Really appreciate the conversation. It felt like it flowed really nicely.